what's up? This is Patrick. Welcome to episode 10 of the Double ETF podcast, Everything Except the Football. I hope you guys are doing great. Today I have Glen Amo on the pod. This is kind of a weird one because I couldn't stop saying okay about 50 times during the conversation. And also, I stopped the recording too early, so I don't even have a proper ending, a proper outro, so go me. But I kind of liked the ending that you will get because it's kind of funny-ish and it's a quick peek behind the curtain, I guess. So, yeah, there you go. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Glen Amo. Thanks. All right, so with me today, I have Glen Amo out of Moncton. Hi, Glen, how are you?
Hello, I'm great. How are you?
Doing good. This is the next day after your first win on Name That Tune.
Yeah, I won my first game of Name That Book. It was great. Thanks.
Yes, my pleasure. I didn't know how well received that category would be, but...
I received it pretty well.
Yeah, and it was only a few minutes long anyway, so, I don't think there was enough to, riot over, but...
Well, that's what I was saying before we started. I think there's a conspiracy going that maybe Courtney got some bad news from my doctor of some terminal illness, and she sent messages around, hey, let Glen win for once.
Yeah.
But whatever, I'll take it. It's worth it.
Send you off on a positive note.
Yeah. Very, very sweet of you all. Thanks.
Yeah. Always happy to.
I'll see you in heaven. Maybe heaven. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So, so we know each other from the Name That Tune weekly quiz. You are in Moncton, New Brunswick.
That's right.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Geez, it occurred to me after saying I'd do this show that I don't think I got a lot of interesting things to say about myself, but I'm 51. I was born in Ottawa. I lived there till I was around 40. I got married there. My wife got a job here in Moncton. We moved here. We live here now. We have dogs.
Okay.
I worked 15 years in the government in a mailroom. That was the opposite of exciting. And eventually, things just worked out where Courtney said, we're doing fine. Why don't you quit that job that you hate and start doing what you want? So that's when I started doing a bit of comedy and focusing more on the art and stuff like that. So.
Okay. Well, so you answered a few of my other questions, I guess. So you lived in Ottawa from birth until around 40.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. And so you mentioned that you work for the government. Did you have any training or background that led you to that job, or?
I got a bilingualism certificate in high school. That's what got me into the government.
Okay.
I think that was why my parents pushed for that. Well, Ottawa, it's right on the border with Quebec, so it's a very bilingual area. My mother's maiden name is Cowette.
Okay.
We don't know the origin of the family name. It's a weird 3-letter name, but we think it might have been Aimont in the past, accent aigu, M-O-N-D.
Yeah.
And that some kind of lack of literacy got in the way, who knows when, and turned it into just A-M-O.
I don't know if you read minds, but that was one of my other questions, that name. I was wondering if it was like a nom de plume or something, a stage name or something.
That's our actual name, but we don't really, I can tell you about 2 of my great-grandparents, and that's about it. Our family tree doesn't really exist, and which upsets my brother, but I think it's because my brother has kids, and he'd like to pass something on to them. And I said to him once, I said, people that come from kings and princes, they know their family tree. They pass that down. There might be a reason that we don't know. If you dig, you might find something you don't like. So let's just be what we are, and we're the beginning. We're the sapling.
Yeah.
Let the tree happen now. You got kids.
Yeah.
The tree's happening.
Yeah. No, I can get behind that, because also what your ancestors were, or your great grandparents or whatever, that doesn't make you who you are.
That's right. Besides, it's apparently it's a Japanese name, because my parents have in the past got calls from the Japanese embassy in Ottawa inviting them to events, because I guess they go through the phone book and find Japanese names.
Jesus.
So there's that. And then like I say, aimant, but also amo or amo is like the root of the word love, right? In Spanish and Italian.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, good call.
Te amo. So, and it's great in the 80s if you got a high score on a video game. You just put your last name in there. It fits.
Yes.
Which barely ever happened for me, but theoretically.
I love your sense of priorities, you know?
Yeah.
High scores on arcades, that's on top of everything else.
You know, when you think of how much time you spend signing your name, if you've got a big, long last name, that adds up.
Yeah, that's true. It can add up to hours over one life. Yeah.
That's why I threw the K in there, just to be a little more, fill out the name a little bit.
Yeah. Nice. So, what did you study at university or whatever after high school?
I took 1 year of an animation course that they were offering at the college in Ottawa, but this was the first year they were offering it.
Okay.
And I did not get accepted right away, so I was on the waiting list.
Okay.
So I got in at the very last minute, and honestly, the way things were for me in my life back then, I was not up for the 14 hours a day at the drawing board. So I finished the first year, but I did not return for the second year. Okay. And that's all, that's my education.
I guess you've always had a talent for arts and drawings and stuff like that?
Yes. When you're a kid, you do anything for attention from the grown-ups. And, if you're good at sports, they notice that and you get praise for that. So you try and get good at sports. And I guess for me, it was art.
And you also do a few other things, stand up, play music, and all those kind of things. But did art come first, or did you learn music afterwards, or all at the same time?
Yeah, no, art definitely came first. I mean, I've always had a sense of humor and been a bit of a goof, so I guess the stand-up was inevitable, although I only started that right the year before we moved here. So that was later in life.
Okay. So it sounds like there is a pre-move to Moncton and a completely different life after you moved to Moncton, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, all my family and friends are back in Ottawa.
And
I've made friends since, but,
Yeah. And overall, do you have the feeling that people were supportive of you? Like, leaving a government job and, completely starting over pretty much?
Oh, yeah. Well, Courtney is the one that needed to be supportive of all that. Everybody else just, they can think whatever they think. I think everyone's happy for me, I would hope. But
yeah,
I only needed Courtney to say it was okay to quit that job.
Okay. Yeah, good call. And do you have a big family back home in Ottawa? Like many brothers and sisters?
I just have one brother, and he's married with 3 kids. And I have quite a few cousins and aunts and uncles. But no, we were a small family.
Older brother?
Younger. Three and a half years younger, yeah.
All right. If we switch back to music, you've played guitar on YouTube videos. Do you play other instruments?
Not really. I mean, I can make some noise on a harmonica a little bit, and I like to play with a keyboard, but I have no training or anything. This is all just for fun, Pretty good with the kazoo.
Good to know. Maybe Steve-O and you can make a duo at some point.
Yeah, I'll call Steve-O out right now. Steve-O, if you're listening, I think what we deserve from you is one song where you sing in an actual normal voice, just so we know what that sounds like. That's all I'm going to say about that. I love Hob the Troll, but let's hear Steve-O.
I can get behind that.
It's a lot of work to put into those songs with that voice, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, true.
I know we can sing for real. I know we can.
Yeah, come on, Steve-O, you can do it. We believe in you.
There you go.
Absolutely. During your time that you worked at the government, did you keep up with your art, or it was completely put on ice until...
Oh, no. I'm still what I consider myself an amateur. I mean, I've sold some pieces and done a few commissions, but mostly this is just what I enjoy doing and sharing and whatever. But yeah, I would say, in fact, that doing art and artistic type things is what made me be able to last 15 years in that job, because, sorting mail all day, not exactly stimulating.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So there's a filmmaker cooperative in Ottawa called IFCO, the Independent Filmmaker Cooperative, and I joined that for a few years. So I made a few short films, little animations, stuff like that. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, okay.
Cost a crazy amount of money to do the tiny things I did, but it was a lot of fun.
making movies, that's quite expensive, more than people think.
Very, very expensive, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I found ways to do it cheap.
Okay.
Like shooting on video and having that transferred over to film instead of shooting directly on film made it a lot cheaper.
Okay.
Making them black and white and silent made it a lot cheaper.
also true, yeah.
Yeah.
So, since you moved to Moncton, your career is as an all-around artist, pretty much.
Well, I had some stuff at a gallery in a nearby town, and that was also a cooperative endeavor, and I sold a few pieces there, but the actual fee for the co-op was more than what I was making from having stuff there. So after a couple of years, I stopped having my art there. But it's anything I've made money has mostly been the stand-up.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And did you have gigs in different places, or it was mostly local, or?
I have never been to Newfoundland, but played the other Atlantic provinces. Not a lot of great big shows, but a whole lot of smaller shows, because, the smaller towns in the Maritimes, they don't get a whole lot of entertainment passing through. So they tend to be really supportive and appreciative when they get a show.
I never thought of that. Okay.
So, I didn't think I'd get far moving to Toronto and trying to compete in the big leagues, but I realized there was a whole opportunity out here. And I was going to move here anyway. I was actually advised by a club owner in Ottawa before moving. He said, if you want to do stand-up, do not move to Moncton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the week I moved here I got a call, was the first paid gig I ever got. So even the experts in this business don't know everything.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the COVID situation must have been a big hit, stand-up wise.
Oh, yeah. I haven't done anything since March. I did a couple of little Zoom shows, but they were sparsely attended, shall we say. Yeah. So okay. I've done some writing, but mostly been doing a lot of art lately.
And what about Courtney? What business does she work in?
She's executive with ACOA, which is the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency for the federal government.
Okay.
So we're not living off of my stand-up money. Let's put it that way.
Well, I mean, it's good to have something stable to stand back on,
She's super supportive, and I'm a very lucky person.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I'm sure. So
before COVID, I was doing better and better. I had my biggest or highest paying gig scheduled for last April, and it got canceled the week of because of COVID. That's how tight it was. So. That
sucks.
That was a pity, but, whenever things start up again, I'll see how it goes, and we'll try and do it again,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you won't have to start over. You will,
Well, I'm not a 20-year-old with dreams of stardom and fame and fortune and all that. I just really enjoy it, and there's a nice community of comedians here, and I just like being part of it.
That makes sense. I can get behind that. Mm-hmm. So you moved to Moncton because of work, Courtney's work.
Yes.
Had you had the choice to move anywhere else in Canada, what city would you have chosen?
Well, if money was no object, I know Courtney would have chosen Vancouver or somewhere on the West Coast. She's always wanted to live there. She also has wanted to live in Montreal as well. I'm honestly not that fussy. I like to draw. I can do that in a tent. It doesn't matter where I'm living. It's nice to be able to do stand-up, which they told me I couldn't do it here, and I've done it all here. So I'd be happy anywhere.
And Montreal has enough of a bilingual scene that it wouldn't be a problem at all,
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would not want to go back to a bigger city. Even going back to Ottawa. See, I didn't get my driver's license until we moved out here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I learned to drive out here. Within a year of having my license, I drove cross country to Vancouver Island and back by myself. So that was fun. But going back to Ottawa now and renting a car and driving around my hometown is very stressful to me now because I'm used to a much smaller degree of traffic.
Okay, so you mentioned something interesting. Driving all the way on your own to Vancouver and back.
Yeah, well, growing up, my dad often talked about when he was younger, him and a couple of friends had made that trip. And that was one of his big memories. And I'd always wanted to do it. And of course, I didn't get my license till later in life. And I sort of figured that my back is eventually going to start to give out. And I don't know if I wait too long if I'd be able to drive all the way across by myself. So I figured I should take that trip while I was still in good shape and able to do it. Okay. And so I did.
And what year was that?
Oh, that's maybe 6 years ago, something like that.
Okay, so that's fairly recent.
Yeah, fairly, yeah.
Okay. So, okay, a few questions. To those who don't know, how many people live in Moncton?
Oh, I think it's about 130,000 in what they call the Greater Moncton region, but I think it's about 70 in Moncton itself. I could be very wrong. Please feel free to Wikipedia.
And about that drive to Vancouver, this fascinates me. How long did it take you, and what's the distance, more or less?
Well, again, I couldn't give you the number, but if you look at a map, it's from one side to the other and back.
Okay,
I went all the way to
smartass.
Tofino, which Tofino is the west coast of Vancouver Island.
Okay.
So I stayed there. But the whole trip, I took 3 weeks, but I could have done it in a shorter amount of time, but I didn't want to have to spend too much time driving each day. So yeah, about 3 weeks. I got strep throat halfway, so that was a fun trip home.
Ooh, okay. Ouch. So I did the Googling. It says 5,536 kilometers.
There you go.
So that's about a shade less than 3,000 miles, I guess.
Something like that, yeah.
But,
it's a long way.
Yeah, it's about 55 hours driving.
Yeah. I think I broke it up. I didn't do more than 6 hours on any given day.
Okay.
Pretty much for the trip, yeah. I wanted to see the sights and enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so I moved around the route, and it says it's pretty much 6,000 kilometers if you stay in Canada.
Yeah, I stayed, yeah.
Yes, okay. Yeah, that would have been the logical option. Mm-hmm. So what part of that trip was the most memorable for you?
Well, there was a lot of times because I got in the habit. Normally, I'm a night owl, but on a trip like that, I would stay at a campsite for a couple of days in a row, like a different campsite, and then I'd treat myself to a cheap motel so I could have a good shower and a bed. So there were a lot of times. Basically, I got in the habit of getting up really early. So a lot of times I would get up early and be on the road when the sun was just coming up. So, there's different landscapes across the country, and just seeing them in that kind of light was often heartbreakingly spectacular. It was a little more emotional than I was expecting.
Okay.
I knew it would be nice, but I didn't expect it to be that beautiful.
And you don't, I guess you don't have any problem, staying by yourself for all that time?
Oh, no. Well, maybe you've gathered I'm a bit of a nerd and was not, the center of big parties growing up and stuff. I have friends, but not tons, That's why people say, I wish I could draw as good as you can. I say it's real easy. What you do is you don't have too many friends when you're a kid. You spend a lot of time in your bedroom trying to entertain yourself with a pad and a pencil. Just do that for 51 years. You'll be better than me.
All right. And what would you say was the least favorite section of your trip?
Well, it's funny. Like I say, I got strep throat halfway, and I had scheduled this thing. Each day was a particular, I'm going to drive to this place, and I had booked each campsite ahead of time. I booked to treat myself because I knew I got a really nice place in Tofino, and I stayed 3 days there because I knew after crossing the country I'd want to rest a little bit. And on the way back, there was a hotel, I think it's called the Cosmo, I'm probably wrong, in Toronto. And this is like a super ritzy place, which is well above any kind of place I've ever been to. But when I was planning my trip, I thought it'd be great to stay in a nice place like that once in my life. And I saw that it was like almost $500 a night. But if you booked ahead, you could get it for just over $200 a night. But no cancellations, So I booked 2 nights at this place. I had to be there on that day. And when I was coming back through Alberta on the way back east, that's when I started feeling sick. By the time I hit Saskatchewan, Manitoba, I would have loved to have been able to rest a couple of days because I was feeling so terrible. But I had to make it to Toronto or I'd miss my luxury place. And so I got to Toronto and, I'm almost hallucinating. I'm so unwell. Jesus. And I pull into this place and I walked in there and they gave me a look like, what is this street person doing coming into our lobby? And I said, I'm here. I've got a room booked. And they were like, oh, do you? I'm like, yeah, my name is Glen. They're like, yeah, do you have a credit card? And I handed over my card. And I hadn't showered in 2 days. And anyway, They checked my card, and immediately the tone changed to, "Yes, sir. How can we help you, sir?" And
wow.
It was super nice. But basically, I stayed in the nicest hotel I've ever been in for 2 nights, probably sicker than I've ever been.
So you couldn't even enjoy it, really.
Well, I did my best. It was pretty nice still, It had a nice sunken tub, and I got room service every day, and I had bought a ticket to a Blue Jays game. I'm totally not a sports fan, but I wanted to see the Sky Dome, or whatever they call it now. Mm-hmm. And I went there, and the game, it went into extra innings, and I could not stay. I had to go. But it was within walking distance of the hotel, so it was fine. Then I stumbled my way home after that. Got some antibiotics.
All right, so at least everything turned out okay.
Yeah, I got a story out of it.
Yeah,
it was a good deal.
Also true. Mm-hmm. So I guess that you answered my next question. You're not much of a sports guy?
No, I played hockey when I was a kid, but, B-level house league. My brother was the real athlete, and played some softball because, the ball's as big as your head. It's kind of hard not to hit it. But that's it. I was never big on it. It's just my parents weren't going to let me sit around the house all day.
It's not that you were really bad at it. It just wasn't your thing.
Oh, no, I was bad at it.
Okay.
See, without getting into any big thing, I found out in my late 30s that I had depression and ADD, and I ended up getting treated for these things. And boy, did my life ever get better after that. But I realized this is one of the reasons I was never able to get into sports, is because, you practice and you got to sort of concentrate and learn. Yeah. My attention was all over the place. They dropped the puck and I was looking up in the stands. Hey, Mom, I was not in a state to become any good at these things.
Okay.
But no, I'm good at the fine motor skills. Like my hands are good for drawing, but not so good for shooting the puck.
Yeah. Well, nobody's perfect. I mean, I love sports, but I suck at them. So,
No, and I was a fan of, we grew up, it was a Montreal Canadiens household.
Oh, okay.
I always wanted Ottawa to get a team, and then they got a team, and I followed them.
And they were terrible.
Yeah, they started to get okay, and then they had that strike where they missed the whole season.
Yes.
And, my attitude, once they came back, I was not on board anymore. Because it's a bunch of grown men, millionaires, running around in short pants playing a game that is really for kids. That's just my opinion.
The problem is not, at least the players, they put their health at risk, sort of, because it's still a contact sport and it's dangerous.
Yeah.
My problem is with the owners and the suits upstairs.
Well, it's a business, I've said for the last few years that as far as the big sports go, they could buy themselves a lot of great PR by donating a chunk of everybody's salary to the junior sports to pay for kids. Yes. Hockey's an expensive sport. And I've always wondered how many potential hockey players better than Gretzky were born, say, in the Congo and lived their whole life and never got to put on skates or get on ice. And we just never knew. So the more kids that get to try hockey, the more excellent players are going to develop in the future. Yeah. And the players today should be helping those kids to pay for all the equipment and stuff.
And I think probably partly for that reason, we will see fewer and fewer kids play hockey. They will probably move on to soccer instead.
Well, I played no contact hockey. I mean, that's how lame I was. We didn't learn how to check. We slammed into each other a lot, but not on purpose.
Not on purpose.
No. When I finished Pee-wee hockey, the next level was, I think, Bantam, I think they called it. At Bantam level, there was no such thing as no contact.
Okay.
So, my dad, we were at a practice one day, and the Bantam kids were out there. And, of course, at that age, some kids are twice the size of the other kids. And they're just slamming each other around. My dad said, "So do you want to play Bantam next year?" I said, "No. I want to take animation class at the School of Art, Dad." So that's what I did.
That worked. Awesome. Have you traveled a lot?
Not tons. I mean, I took that trip and across the country. And I did, in the early 90s, follow the Grateful Dead for a couple of years. So I saw a few shows, so a little bit of the northeastern United States. Went to Florida a couple times as a kid. And I went to Amsterdam twice.
Oh, nice.
After I left the government that following year, I had a great time, and I'd stayed at a hostel. And the kids that worked there, they said, "You should come back again next year, and we'll take you to our parties, not the tourist stuff." So
Oh.
I made a bunch of friends there and went back the next year, and that was probably the most fun I've ever had.
And what year was that?
That was 2007, and I went again 2008.
Okay, and how long did you stay?
A couple of weeks each time.
Oh my God, I'm jealous. I mean, I've been once, and it was only for like 3 or 4 days. But I told myself I would go back.
It's a beautiful city. I mean, let's be honest, or I'll be honest. There's really
Sure.
two reasons a lot of people go to Amsterdam.
Yes.
And one of them is prostitutes, and I had no interest in prostitutes.
Okay.
So, and now we've legalized things in this country that save me a cross-ocean voyage to enjoy the things I want to enjoy. So everything's worked out great. But that's what got me there in the first place. But I was not ready for how beautiful a city it is. Every corner is a picture postcard. The buildings look like cartoons. And the museums, it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And yeah, you don't even need, I mean, I went there with Steph and, it was on our plans eventually to, go to a
coffee shop?
Yeah, those coffee shops. Mm-hmm. But we never did. And I guess we ran out of time. And it turned out that it didn't even matter because the city has so much more to offer anyway.
Yeah, so, the whole country does. Really, and I would have liked to explore more of it. But, there's cheaper ways to be surrounded by a bunch of young, obnoxious Americans and British kids.
Roger that.
It was still fun. I still had a great time. And yeah, it was fun.
Are you planning on going back eventually?
Maybe someday. Courtney's the big traveler. She's been all over. She likes the exotic trips. And, she's been to Thailand. She's been to India a couple times. She got thrown over a fence by a bull in India.
Jesus.
Yeah, she's got some stories. Have her on the show someday.
Yeah. That sounds like a good travel tale episode.
Mm-hmm. She's the traveler. She's been to Chile, all over. Yeah.
How's her Spanish?
Not bad, actually. At the time, we were in Ottawa, and she was commuting. And Ottawa's a big, wide city, so it was taking at least an hour to drive from the west end to the downtown where she was working. And she was she downloaded these, I think it's called Coffee Break, language lessons, and she listened to those in the car for a few months before she went. So she managed to get herself some decent rudimentary Spanish before she went to Chile. And I think it made a world of difference. But she's fully bilingual. Like, she's 100% bilingual English and French, whereas I'm maybe 70-30, maybe 65-35. I don't know.
And for those who don't know, is Moncton a bilingual city as well?
Yes. I believe New Brunswick's the only officially bilingual province.
I think you're right, yes.
But yes, Courtney she comes from northern New Brunswick, which is very much more French.
Yeah, like Caracat and those places, right?
Yeah, Edmundston. Yeah, my father-in-law he doesn't speak any English, really, for example. But here in Moncton, it's very much half and half, I would say.
All right. I went once in 2000, and I don't remember what I did there. Like, I don't remember if I used English or French. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I say to people, it's a great place to live, but I wouldn't want to visit.
Okay.
There's nothing here, unless you like Costco. We got one of those.
Well, I mean,
everybody likes it because it's always full.
Yeah, it was like I drove through the Maritimes with a friend, and Moncton was one of our stops. The only place we didn't go to was Newfoundland.
Yeah, we're the drive-through province.
Chabot Trail, and yes.
Yeah, people drive through here to get to Nova Scotia or PEI,
Yeah, but it was.
Go see that Anna Green Gables house.
Yeah, it was really beautiful, though. From what I remember, I mean,
we have a lot of trees.
Yes.
Unless I'm mistaken, the province of New Brunswick is the most heavily treed area of the planet.
Really?
Something to that effect. Yeah, the most trees per kilometer or square kilometer or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Even higher than the rainforest and whatnot. So yeah, if you like trees, if you like driving down poorly maintained highways that have a lot of trees on the side, this is the place to be.
Okay. Oh yeah, there was one question that I forgot to ask. If we can circle back to music, what would be your top 3 bands?
Oh boy. Maybe it's the ADD, but I'm kind of all over the place. Maybe you've noticed this from the Name That Tune, but...
a little bit.
I'll discover something. Like a couple of years ago, I found a song by this old band called the Hoosier Hotshots. And I thought, oh, that's really fun. So then I'll look at a little bit of that stuff and I'll find a little bit of their music and get into that for a while and then discover something else. But, you know, I don't want to be a stereotype, but the Beatles were pretty big for us when we were in high school because it was the 80s and we weren't that much, you know, you kind of listen to what your friends listen to and we were listening to more older stuff. So a lot more of the 60s and 70s type stuff. But I've always, you know, there was a record when I was a kid, one of the K-Tel records called Looney Tunes or Goofy Greats. You remember these records?
I don't, unfortunately.
Well, it's novelty songs. It's goofy comedy songs and stuff. And, you know, music is not, I mean, there's an element of what's cool and there's that. And then there's an element of what's like, some things are great driving songs or workout songs or just relaxation songs. But then there's also some things are just silly and fun. And I kind of like everything. That's why I was able to identify TV theme songs as well as some classical music. You know, I'm all over the place.
Okay.
I saw Grateful Dead. I followed them for, 10 shows and then sort of moved on. But 3 bands, I don't know. Rio Statics is great. If you haven't heard them, check them out.
Where are they from?
Toronto area.
All right. So we can move on to the standard questions, if you like.
Okay, here we go. I've prepared.
Right. Yes, you have. All right,
if you listen to the Name That Tune games or you watch those videos, you'll probably know the kind of thing that comes out of my mouth right off the top of my head. And I thought I should give some of these questions a little bit more thought than that.
Well, I mean, they are kind of made to be answered on the spot, sort of.
Well, I'm sure I'll come up with other things to say, but if you're here for the Glen K-Mo poo-poo jokes, you're probably going to be disappointed.
Well, I mean, today we get to know another side of you.
That's right.
On poo-poo jokes.
Yep.
All right. Awesome.
Pee-pee's pretty funny too.
All right. So, okay. First, what is your favorite music movie?
Well, see, this is why I gave this some thought. The answer I have 2 answers, the true answer and then the answer that I think will be more satisfying. To me, the true answer is also what I would probably say today because it changes whenever you ask. But if you ask me what my favorite movie is, I would say the same thing. And that's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Okay, but I mean...
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Okay,
Let me explain.
Sorry.
If you think about that movie, it is certainly not a musical or anything like that, but... I really love the way that music is the way that the extraterrestrials communicate. That I thought was such a brilliant device. And it gave John Williams an opportunity to come up with something so iconic with 5 notes? Well, 4 notes, one in a different octave. Like that music is essential to that film. It wouldn't work without the music. But if you want a real answer, the real answer I would say is Pennies from Heaven. Don't know if you know this Steve Martin movie.
No, I don't.
They do a bunch of lip syncing to like a bunch of old timey songs. It's really, really interesting, and I think it was a huge flop. I just thought it was great when I saw that. I'd never seen anything like it, and I thought it was really entertaining.
All right. So I'll flip the table and ask, what is your least favorite music movie, the one you hated?
I am of 2 minds when it comes to your traditional musicals. So I'm really hit and miss with those. And I would say it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just that I've enjoyed listening to the soundtrack for Fiddler on the Roof a lot. I think there's a lot of fun songs in there. And you get the story just from listening to the record. But I couldn't get 30 minutes into the movie. It works better for me as just an album.
All right.
But I know Drew was talking about Tommy. I thought Tommy was great.
Okay.
I'm a lover, not a hater.
No, yeah, of course. That's excellent. Question 2, what would be your favorite book related to music?
Well, again, I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit, but I thought about it, and the thing that kept coming to my mind, they made a series of Grateful Dead comics, Comix, and each issue was like 3 or 4 different Grateful Dead songs that an artist would interpret as a comic, like 3 or 4 comic pages, where the words are the lyrics. And all sorts of different artists and all sorts of different interpretations. And I loved that because I've always loved anthology TV shows and comics and stuff like that. And there'd also occasionally be someone would do a story from them going to a concert or something like that, like a personal experience story. And I don't know how many of these, a dozen of these or something like that, but really great idea. And I was sort of surprised that you didn't see more of that you could do like 30 comics about Beatles songs the same way and have different comic artists do different interpretations. I think it'd be great, but
probably the rights were too expensive, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's good promo though, but whatever.
Yes. Yeah. And what about your least favorite book? The one you couldn't even finish?
Well, I typically don't get into something that I don't think I'm going to enjoy. And I did finish it, but a friend of mine, Levon Helm, the late drummer from the band, he wrote a biography or autobiography. And my friend Mike was like, you should read this. You like the band? I'm like, yeah, I'd read it, but I suspect it's just going to be him going on and on about how much he hates Robbie Robertson. And my friend said, no, it's great. You'll love it. You should read it. And of course, I read it. And about 2/3 of the way, sure enough, it's really just him shitting all over Robbie Robertson. Now, I guess they reconciled at the end of his life. I don't know. But I did end up finishing the book, but my friend tricked me into reading it. So there's that.
Nice. Okay, so next question would be, what was your first concert?
Oh, yes. I wish I had something cool to say. My first concert at the Ottawa Summer Exhibition, my parents took me and my brother. We went to see Kenny Rogers with Jim Stafford as the opening act. And this would be right around the time of, right before The Gambler, like right around then when The Gambler came out.
Okay. So next question would be, what is your favorite or most memorable concert you went to?
Well, again, I would say there's two. One of them would be one of the Grateful Dead shows that I saw. This was in 1994 in Highgate, Vermont. And I don't know if you know how it used to work with Grateful Dead, but you used to have to mail ahead to order tickets because there was such a high demand for the tickets. They would announce, say, okay, here's the shows for our spring tour. And then if you want to order tickets to any of these shows, there was a very specific way. You had to get a certain size postcard, and you had to fill it out a very specific way, and then include a money order with this, and then mail it in. And they basically did it like a lottery. Like they'd pull out an envelope, and this guy wants 2 tickets, and he's filled it out properly. Okay, 2 tickets for this guy. So you would find out, okay, you got tickets to this one or that one. So that's how they sold tickets to their shows. But I think this was, it was summer tour. This show was like added to the tour after all that mail out stuff had happened. So, which was very rare for them at that time anyway. So the only way to get tickets was to actually go to a Ticketmaster or something like that in Vermont. And a couple of friends of ours did that and got us all tickets to this show. So that was kind of special on its own. And the show was good, but they're all good. It was fun. Anyway, you're there. I was there more for the party, to be honest. And this is why this one was so memorable, because normally when the shows would end, there was a big tailgate type scene at these concerts in the parking lot. But usually in the bigger cities, when the shows were over, the cops would be right there waiting for people to pile out, and they made you leave right away. And when you consider how many of these people are probably tripping their heads off on mushrooms and acid and stuff like that, to put them in their cars and make them drive might not be smart.
Yeah.
But at this show, they didn't clear us out till like 9 the next morning. So the party afterwards went on all night long. And it was just... Jesus. If you think about the Grateful Dead experience, that was, out of the 10 shows I went to, that was the best experience.
Wow.
But as far as my favorite concert, it would probably be Randy Newman at the Blues Fest in Ottawa in 2007.
Okay.
It was an afternoon show, and it was just him and the piano, and his voice was still good, and he'd tell a little story, and it wasn't insufferable, and it was just great. And at one point, he played Feels Like Home, which Courtney and I, when we got married, took us a long time to pick a song. You're supposed to pick a song, but that was the song we picked. So to be there, and there he is, 20 yards away playing our wedding song, it was pretty sweet.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very nice. Question 5. What is your most memorable or favorite brush with fame? It doesn't have to be music related.
No, well, it wouldn't be. I told the story of meeting Gary U.S. Bonds when we did the first show and tell Zoom. But,
yes.
I am not big on the famous. I don't know how else to say it. It feels weird to me that some people are treated so differently just because of this or that. And then other people, we have teachers in the Zoom room. Those are the people that should be making millions of dollars and be rich and famous. Like, okay, that's you can play a guitar good. It's great. I'm glad. I'll buy your record. But I'm not, people used to say when we were in high school, I wish I could meet Paul McCartney. And I'd say, why? I'd love to tell him how much his music meant to me. And I'd think, how many billions of times has Paul McCartney heard that Just buy his record, go to the show, enjoy it, I buy his record, it's $12, here's $12, transaction complete. I don't need fame. But I mentioned IFCO before, and one of the things IFCO used to do is every month they'd have a screening for the membership. So one of the members would pick a favorite movie, and they'd show that for the members and maybe give a little talk. And so my turn came up, and this would have been in October, which that's also my birthday month. But I wanted to do some horror films. So I picked one of my favorite horror films, which is An American Werewolf in London.
Nice.
And I just thought, and I've done this before too, where I wonder if I can find a way to get in touch with John Landis.
Okay.
Not with anything in mind, really. Just thought, hey, if I could get this guy to write a little something and read that before the movie, that'd be fun. And I ended up finding, and I couldn't tell you any of the details now because I was just search this, search that. I found some talent agency or something like that he was listed as somebody that they represented. So I emailed them and I attached a letter and said, I'm not asking for anything, but if you could read this letter and think that if it's okay to forward it on, please do that. We would love to have something to read before the movie. And he sent back a 2-page thing, and it was really nice. He talked about making the movie and how they all made a little bit of extra money by keeping it under budget. And yeah, that was really nice. Now, John Landis is John Landis. And, if we don't talk about Twilight Zone, the movie, or any other of these stories, I still enjoy the movie very much. I don't think he's necessarily a great guy, but he had some talent and I still enjoy that movie.
It can be difficult to separate the artist from the person,
Yeah, I'm sure Vic Morrow's family is not a fan.
Yes. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's enough about that.
Yes, we can move on. Okay, so question 6. Is there a band that turned you into a fan after you saw them live?
No, but I have the opposite experience.
Please.
Yeah, before any of the Jian Ghomeshi saga unfolded.
Yeah. Yes.
I had heard some music by Moxie Fruvis when they were fairly new. I think it was typical back then for groups to put out a little cassette with like 6 songs on it. And well, they had one of those and I thought it was great. And eventually they did a show in Ottawa and I thought, this will be great. I love these guys. Let's go see them. And I did not enjoy that show. Again, insufferable is I hate to overuse that word, but good Lord. If it wasn't for them, it was their fans. I mean, put it this way. They had merchandise. What their merchandise was a suit vest with a paisley front and Moxie Fruvis embroidered across the back.
Oh, my God.
So you can imagine who's putting that on. And then a whole theater full of those people. This band was better as sound only. Let's just put it that way.
Yes. Good answer.
And now, well, they're not in my iTunes anymore. Put it that way.
Okay. Understandable, I think. All right. So we can move on to the triple Qs, the quick and quirky questions, if you want.
Sure.
Okay. So question 1. Would you rather speak all languages or play all music instruments?
Oh, instruments. No question.
Okay.
I'm quite sure that when Yo-Yo Ma goes to any country, they find someone to translate for him. Or anybody, Louis Armstrong toured the world. I don't know how many languages he spoke.
Yeah, I get that. Question 2. If you could get a ticket to any show or event, music or sports, what would you want a ticket to, past or present?
Well, again, people that have listened to the Name That Tune have heard my story. What I would love to do is to have a Ted Nugent concert, and I buy all the tickets. And then when the show comes, I sit by myself in the middle of the front row and say, play for me, guitar boy, play. Now who's the loser?
Yeah, okay.
That would be my dream.
That works.
Yes, I've gone with spite.
That works. All right, question 3. What is your favorite insect?
Oh, the praying mantis. I like strong women.
Okay. Yeah, good call. Question 4. What scene from a movie scarred you for life?
All right. Do you know the movie Fantastic Planet or Planète Sauvage? It's an animated French film, or I think it's French, from the early 70s, I think.
It rings a bell, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
It is very strange, and it's got a unique look to it that's difficult to describe. But I would highly recommend people look this up. But they played this movie in parts. There was a show when I was young called Magic Shadows, which it would play on TV Ontario at like 6:30 p.m. every night. And they would cut a movie into like 5 parts, and every night they'd show 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. And I had no idea about this movie, but one night I was flipping through the channels and happened upon a scene from this thing, and I was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7. And it's difficult to describe, but basically the people on this planet are tiny compared to the giant blue things that live there, and the humans are considered an infestation, and at one point they try and fumigate them out, and there's these things that release this poison gas, and they're all dying all over the place, and yeah, that was pretty traumatic. Even not knowing what was going on, it is just horrific looking, you know.
Wow.
Anyway, check it out. It's actually a really great movie, but it really terrified me as a kid.
Okay, Fantastic Planet.
Or La Planète Sauvage.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Next question. What is the best nickname you've ever heard?
Well, you know, this was a tough one too. I'm not going to go with best, but it does always amuse me how when you go back in time, the nicknames become less and less considerate. You know, like Roscoe Arbuckle, commonly known as Fatty.
Yes.
Or Fats Waller or Minnesota Fats. Like, hey, if you had a bit of a waist, that was just your name.
Yeah,
Fatty.
Fats Domino.
Exactly. Real creative there. Fatty. Yeah. So I always thought that was funny. Don't think there's too many fatties walking around today. Well, nobody named Fatty.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so question 6. What would you name your boat if you had one?
First of all, I'm not nuts about boat culture. We used to go camping and fishing at the Big Rideau Lake in Ontario. And there's this island you could stay on. It was like $2 to put up a tent every night. But there was also a dock where the cabin cruisers would dock there overnight too. And boy, they looked at us. They looked down at us.
Yes.
And I was not nuts about these people. So I'm not a boat guy. But if I had a boat, I guess I'd name it Molly Brown.
Molly Brown.
Unsinkable.
Why? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
they called her the Unsinkable Molly Brown. Made a musical about that too.
The name rang a bell, but I was trying to remember. So, okay, so thank you for clearing that up. Okay, question 7. Where is the worst smelling place you've been?
Well, I thought of some rude answers to this, which I will spare you. One time, we went camping. It was actually at Big Rideau Lake. And Courtney and I were pretty new together, and we had gotten our first dog, and his name was Gilligan. And he was an old beagle. And we were swimming in the lake at one point, and Gilligan was up on the beach by himself, frolicking around. We could see him frolicking in the vegetation there, you know. And then when we came up out of our swim, we discovered that he was rolling himself in the who knows how old corpse of some squirrel.
Oh, my God.
I have never smelled anything as bad as that. We had just a little bit of soap just so we could take our own shower at one point, and a little bit of shampoo, and we used that up right away, and that did nothing on him. And I had some Brute aftershave that I had gotten for Christmas that year, I think as a joke gift, but I had it with me for some reason, and I put some of that on him, and that was a huge mistake because he had to spend the night in the tent with us.
Oh, ouch.
So that was a very memorable night. But
God.
that smell, like if I smell anything close to even Brute aftershave now, it just smells like dead squirrel to me.
Oh my God. And how were you able to get rid of that smell?
Well, we eventually got him home and had the proper dog shampoo and gave him a few baths, you know.
Woof. Okay, that's a good answer. That was a good one.
He was happy. He didn't mind. He was having a great old time.
Yeah, she was the only one. All right, so question 8. When did you screw everything up, but no one ever found out it was you?
You know, I've given this a lot of thought too, and I can honestly say, not that that's never happened, but that I can't think of any time that that's happened. It seems to me, going over my life in my mind, that every time I've messed up, I've gotten caught.
Okay.
Like, I've never been able to not get blamed when I've messed something up. I may have tried to not get caught, but I've always gotten caught.
So, not very lucky in that regard, I guess.
No. Well, you're lucky in the sense that I never had the inclination to be a criminal.
Well, yeah, but...
I would be bad at that.
Yeah, but you know, screwing up not on purpose, and if you can get away with it, that's a positive, I guess.
Yeah.
Rather than getting yelled at by your boss, for example.
Yeah. Well, you learn the lesson to just say, "Oops, I've messed up here," instead of trying to just walk away from whatever. I guess that's a positive. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not lucky with getting away with anything.
Okay.
Never have been.
All right. Okay, so question 9. What is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Well, I decided to read some books this week. I read the book of Genesis, and I read Tale of Two Cities, and I read 1984. No.
Very timely.
That winning that game yesterday, certainly not something that I ever expected to happen. And even during the course of the game, I had no idea what the points were. I expected, I probably got around 20, maybe close to my high score or whatever. So that's really the most interesting thing that happened to me this week. It was Courtney's birthday yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I told her, I know it's your birthday, but you understand that from now on, January 16th is, your birthday is second. First is, that's the day I won. Name that
Yes.
tune.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's
everything
your
else. Everything else from now on, it's only going to go downhill.
That's right. Yep. It's like those kids that have their birthday at Christmas. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Too bad. There's a bigger thing that's happened. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Okay, so question 10. If you were given a 1-minute ad slot during the Super Bowl that you couldn't sell, you're stuck with it, what would you fill it with?
Well, I'd probably try and come up with some kind of public service thing. Well, here's a good one. We have public school for kids, and we give kids all like phys ed class, half hour every day or something like that. I don't know what it's like in school now, but that's how it used to be. Because we're all very concerned about the physical health of all these kids. And I think this whole COVID thing is probably pointing out the need for the other side of things. If we're going to take half an hour every day to teach kids that they should take care of their bodies, we might want to take a half hour every second day and get them to learn how to talk about their feelings and express themselves in healthy ways. Basically, Mr. Rogers. Kids need more of that. We need to worry about their mental health as much as their physical health. And I think we neglect the one and focus maybe all on the other.
It's becoming less and less of a taboo, though. So maybe there's hope for the next few years, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Just say what you're feeling, and it's a good start, and just teach kids how to not get eaten up by their bad emotions.
Yep, I agree with that. If you want, we can go into overtime. I have a few more questions.
Sure, by all means.
All right.
I have nothing prepped now, so this is all virgin territory. Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so question 1. You are going back in time and wind up face-to-face with 15-year-old you. You have 10 seconds before you travel back to the present day. What do you tell your younger self? 10 seconds.
Well, I'm going to admit something about myself that I haven't really talked about, and I certainly have no pride in it, but to put it very plainly, I would say in 10 seconds, those cigarettes you're starting to smoke, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Right.
Take that money and buy the expensive comics on the back wall of the comic shop now, because they're going to be worth a lot later on.
Action Comics #1.
Whatever, yeah, I think it was X-Men. It was. I wish I had saved the money and done that, because it would have been a much better investment for sure.
I agree. All right, so question 2. If you could live in anyone's head for 15 minutes, being John Malkovich style, only as a spectator, who would you choose?
Oh, I'd choose Courtney.
Huh, okay.
Yeah. Then I'd get to look at myself.
Okay. You could buy a mirror.
Yeah,
you could also do that.
I'm backwards in that mirror.
Yes.
Got my ring on the wrong finger. Plus, I want to look at myself with loving eyes, not self-loathing eyes.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm happy in this head. I wouldn't want to subject anyone to what goes on in this head. So I think I'll stay out of everybody's head. Just stick in here.
So I forgot to add, it could have been past or present. If you want to be Julius Caesar for 15 minutes, you could.
Yeah, I want to see what those daggers look like coming at me.
No, they stab you in the back, so you don't see them coming.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No. See, no good. No good.
That's true.
No, I don't know. There's things I would like to maybe know what actually went on historically, but it's all mystery. It's fine. I'm good with it.
All right. Okay. Question 3. You're on death row. You die tomorrow, but you get to choose the way you will be executed, no matter the logistics involved. Okay, you could go big or you could go quietly. How would you want to die?
That's
That's morbid. Yes.
Well, maybe something involving space.
Okay.
You know, get to go to the first Mars colony and then just run out of oxygen there. So at least I get some kind of amazing experience first. I don't know. Or a bunch of topless ladies can chase me off a cliff wearing bike helmets.
Okay.
Like in Meaning of Life, Monty Python movie.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to go, I guess.
I'd rather live forever. It's why I quit the cigarettes, so I'm counting on it. So far, so good.
Wouldn't it be boring at some point?
Maybe.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Twilight Zone-y type stories to tell us how terrible it would be, but yeah, I'm willing to find out for myself.
You're still curious about it, so yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
it's worth it to see the death of all my enemies. To watch them wither and die, isn't that, it's a trade-off.
Good point. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. All right, so question 4. Your superpower is that you can give phobias to people. What kind of things, or concepts, or whatever, would you make people afraid of?
Oh, that's good. That's good. Probably, lying, unkindness, things like that. Gossip.
Yeah.
As far as like perpetuating these things. Maybe just make people be afraid of not being such good people. So it encourages them to be better, maybe. Something like that.
Yeah, sounds good, because it's been pretty much the same kind of answers from the previous people I talked to on this
well then
podcast,
I change it. So. I want everyone to fear me. I want people to just live in terror of my wrath and do my biddings.
Okay, so yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's different.
But yes. Question 5, what is the best Wi-Fi network name you've seen?
I have made my Wi-Fi basically fuck off. This is my Wi-Fi because I know someone was trying to tap into it. But that I've done.
I've always been partial to NSA surveillance van.
There you go. Yeah.
Always like that one. Okay, so question 6. I guess I could split that question into 2 parts. What is your hometown best known for?
My hometown? Well, it's the capital of Canada.
Yes, but so that's what I meant by 2 parts. In this case, what would you say Moncton is best known for? If anything.
The Costco and being on the way to Halifax.
Historically, there's got to be something, right?
Well, there's a river that runs through here that is very silty, so they call it the Chocolate River.
Really? Okay.
There is one little cement tower, a Bell Alliant cell phone tower, that very much dominates the skyline. And it is comical because it is just a cylinder, like there's nothing to it, It's real. I'm very happy. I don't want to make it sound like this is a really nice place to live, but there's nothing here.
But do you know if there are any famous people who were born in Moncton?
Nah, I don't think so. There's a hockey team here, like in the QMHL, whatever.
Yes.
The Moncton Wildcats, they play here, so some people have gone on to the NHL from that team.
And there is another junior team in Acadie Bathurst, I think. Or maybe they moved to Moncton, I'm not sure.
Je ne sais pas.
Non, je sais pas moi non plus.
No, well, we're known for Chiac. There's something we're known for.
Okay.
But that's kind of the whole area, which is comical to me, and it just baffles me because how do they decide which word to say in English and which to say in French? I just don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
But it is fun to listen to.
So for those who don't know, Chiac is a kind of a dialect specific to that region. Yeah,
it's very much split English and French. Like it's French with a whole lot of English words thrown in there.
Yeah, or the other way around. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, it's pretty split.
Okay, so 7th and last question. What is the best insult you've ever heard?
Insult? Jeez, yes. I don't know. Well, it's not an insult, but, some people, and I'm going to try and be delicate about this because I have intent here, they'll talk about the coronavirus as having come from a certain area, let's say.
Yes.
And they say this in a hateful, racist way, like it's their fault that we got this virus. Well, no, but I do understand from that same area, there's an expression that we have, and this may be an urban legend, maybe it's come from somewhere else, but we typically think of that as a Chinese expression, the "may you live in interesting times."
Yeah.
You've heard this, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, that, it seems like they have made that happen. So I don't know about the virus, but we're certainly all living in interesting times. Yeah, that is for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to less interesting times.
Oh, so am I. And I'm not saying that this is from China. I'm just, whoever cursed us with this.
Yes.
not a fan. I am not a fan.
No, not a fan either.
Yeah.
It is a strange mix of boredom and anguish.
Yeah, when you remember, well, I'm sure you do. There was a TV movie in the 80s called The Day After. You remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right in the middle of everyone being afraid that we're all going to get bombed with nuclear bombs.
Yes.
There was kind of a constant sense of dread in the back of the mind back in those days when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That there's a similar feeling now as a grown man that I really do not enjoy.
Yeah, like what's going on now makes me almost feel nostalgic for the good old days of the Cold War,
Yeah.
But there was, you mentioned the Day After. I don't know if you remember, there was a British movie called Threads. Yes.
Good Lord, yes. I didn't see that back then. I've only seen that recently. I'm glad I didn't see it back then. I would never have slept again. I would have stayed awake till I died.
Yeah, I did. And I thought, the Day After was a Disney movie compared to Threads.
Yeah, there's another a feature film. I think it's called Testament. It's not as brutal as Threads, but it is just heartbreaking because the lady, her husband doesn't come home and her two kids are getting sick, and the one kid is asking, like, he's a kid and asking, or I'm not sure if it's the daughter, but asking what it's like to make love, and she's trying to explain it to the kid, knowing the kid's going to die real soon, and it's just awful. But yeah, that kind of dread. I mean, these things, that's why as a kid I felt the dread is those movies. But yeah, now with the COVID, I have that same sort of feeling like, oh, something bad. It's going to get really bad, I just want to get through this where nobody else has to get real sick,
Yeah. All right. So, Glenn, when can we reach you online? Did I say when or where?
When. Now work.
Oh, shit.
Anytime. I'm good anytime. But if you're looking for how to reach me, you can find me on Facebook. Yes. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram. What else? DeviantArt. If you want to see the art that is not family friendly, you go to DeviantArt. But everything else is up on the Facebook.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, Glenn, where can we find you online? I just wanted to record that line so I can put it.
There you go.
And it's right. Shit.
Aha.
When?
Tricky.
Jesus Christ.